Good day. The state television company of Western Armenia represents the most important news for today. Today's broadcast. There are two Armenian states. Guillermo Karamanyan, the British Member of Parliament, compared the ethnic cleansing in Artsakh with genocide committed against Armenians by the Turks. Eastern Armenia presented the Crossroads of Peace program at the Council of State. Armenian identity. Islamized Armenians. Presentation of grammar of Hamshen. Sahakyan's film The Light of Aurora won the general prize from the jury of the 14th Franco Film Festival. There are two Armenian states. Guillermo Karamanyan wrote, "The current Republic of Armenia cannot claim even 1 centimeter of territory, which is different from the territory with which Armenia decided to become a country in 1991. That is why I categorically tell you that for this purposes, it is not important who is the first politician of the Republic of Armenia, what surname he has, or what his ideology will be. For more than 40 years, no one has claimed anything at all in terms of territorial issues, nor can any territory be claimed in the future because the country cannot legally do that. But in spite of what has been said, and even though the authorities of the Republic of Armenia will never be able to claim other territories outside the 29,800 square kilometers. It is one thing that they defended the historical and legal lie established by the world establishment, that they are in the only Armenians in the world and live in the only Armenian state in the world. It is another thing that they are to make public statements that contradict Armenian national interest and favor the interest of our enemies. Therefore, none of us can allow any government of the Republic of Armenia to deny the existence of the 1920 Armenian state of Western Armenia and its citizens who still live in Western Armenia, annexed by Turkey and Azerbaijan, and all of us born as Armenians and exist as Armenians. We live in exile from our Armenian homeland, although many of those who read this still don't know that we are the indigenous people of Western Armenia. This was recognized in 2007 by the United Nations. The leaders of the Republic of Armenia can do whatever they want to preserve the integrity of the 29,800 square kilometers, but cannot go against Armenian national interests. Cannot deny the existence of the Armenian state of 1920 and its successor, our Republic of Western Armenia. They can do what they want, but they cannot say that Yerevan, Artsakh, Kars, Ardahan, Manasguard, Van Yerzingan, Yerzurum, Diyarbakir, Trabzon, Bitlis, Fos, Karabert, Mush, Sasun are not Armenian provinces. And the least they can dare to question the Armenians of Mount Ararat, claiming that it is not an Armenian mountain or a Turkish mountain or belongs to the territorial integrity of Turkey. That would be a betrayal of a country and the motherland. Artsakh is undeniable an Armenian state, and Ararat mountain is the Armenian mountain in the world, the highest point and the symbol of our Western Republic of Armenia as a continuation of the Armenian state of 1920. The Alma-Ata Declaration of 1991 was signed with the main purpose of dissolving the Soviet Union, and it is a matter for the leadership of the Republic of Armenia whether it wants to put the document on the table or not, agree with what they want. What the leaders of Armenia cannot agree with Azerbaijan is the agreement to abolish Armenian sovereignty over our states, Yerevan and Artsakh. They can't recognize Turkey's right to any of the remaining provinces that make up our republic. In conclusion, I would like to say that the only legal borders between Armenians and Turks are the borders established by the President of the United States of America. Woodrow Wilson presented his arbitral award, which he made on November 22, 1920, a final and unappealable ruling which has already become international law, demarcating the legal and current borders between Turkey and Western Armenia. This is Armenian reality. You who have already learned today's Armenian reality should spread the objective truths contained in this written word during all your Armenian contacts, conveying them to everyone and spreading them. With this first official action as the ambassador of the Republic of Western Armenia, I invite all Armenians worldwide to urgently join us so that together we can develop and implement appropriate strategies to restore each of our Armenian provinces. The subject of international support to the refugees of Artsakh was discussed in the Parliament of the United Kingdom. During the discussion, Member of Parliament Carol Monaghan noted in her speech that the recent military operation between Armenia and Baku showed that the conflict has never ended. Although they have recently negotiated a peace accord, tensions remain high, and if there is peace, it's certainly fragile. Last year, some of us spoke in the Westminster Hall about the blockade of the Berdzor corridor, the main supply route from Armenia to Artsakh. At that time, several honorable members highlighted the possibility of famine and humanitarian disaster. The electors and peacekeepers were at best observers and at worst actively supporting the ongoing persecution of the local Armenian population, said Monaghan, and also regretfully noted that the result that most feared came true in September of last year when the Baku military deported the Armenian population after a 9-month siege. For many, this ethnic cleansing of the people is reminiscent of the 1915 up to 1923 genocide committed by Turks against the Armenians. It is noteworthy that about 44 countries, including the USA, Canada, and France, have recognized the historical genocide. The UK has failed to do so, but by denying official recognition of the historic crime, the UK government continues to delegitimize the collective pain suffered by the Armenian community, Monaghan said. On March 19, a conference titled The Future of Via Carpathia Caucasian Road Corridor was held in the European Parliament, initiated by a Member of Parliament Thomas Poreba. Martin Sarkisian, deputy head of the representation of Eastern Armenia in EU, took part in the conference as a speaker. In his speech, he thanked for being invited to this event and presented in detail the Crossroads of Peace program developed by the government of Eastern Armenia, the vision of the Armenian side, the region of peace and cooperation, regarding making the zone and the expectation of involving international partners in the direction of implementing this project. Martin Sarkisian, deputy head of the representation of Eastern Armenia in the European Union, took part in the conference as a speaker. In his speech, he thanked being invited to this event and presented the details. The Crossroads of Peace program developed by the government of Eastern Armenia. Martin Sarkisian referred to the government peace agenda, emphasizing in this context the possible economic advantages of the Crossroads of Peace project, as well as the important contribution to establishing stable and lasting peace in the South Caucasus. Another element of the process of forming the Turkish nation was the Turkification of the non-Turkish Muslim nations, Islam, along with other important factors playing an essential role in this process. The influence of the Kurdish liberation movement and interethnicity is noticeable in the identity demands of the Muslim nations. Making legal claims and declaring themselves in the works written about Hamshen people's own culture and identity reduced the influence of the religious element on the perception of Hamshen identity. Despite the religious differences, there are many traditions, holidays, prayers, beliefs, and cultural elements left over from pre-Christian times, which bring Hamshen and Armenian identities quite close. This situation, on the one hand, reduces the impact of Hamshen's perception of Turks, and on the other hand, pushes back the perception of Armenian identity identified with Christianity. This process, starting from one to the other, spreads the perception of the Muslim Armenian instead of the Hamshen Turk of Armenian Don concept. Western Armenia TV continues to present to you the story of Armenian Varto Ashiret. Yerevan, the head of the Varto tribe, has 14 children who were in a difficult situation after the death of his wife Delal. In addition, as mentioned in the previous article, Varto Ashiret was extremely religious. Even the children were often named after the names found in the Holy Book, and the offer of the Armenian cleric regarding educating the children was accepted with great love. The tribal leader Yerevan was the first to set an example for his fellow tribesmen and agreed to send the 9-year-old girl Raquel to Constantinople. Other members of the tribe also followed this example, and around 25 Kurdish-speaking children were sent to the Armenian orphanage in Tuzla. Raquel, the girl who went to learn her native language and return to her roots, later became Hrant Dink's wife. You can learn more about the topic on the website of Western Armenia TV. In the Hatik Union of Hamshen residents of the village of Wine Festival was held for Hari Shahin's Hamshen dialect grammar and books written by Mahir Rezogan for self-study of the same language. The two authors first introduced the general features of their work, and then a pleasant dialogue with the audience took place. It was known that until recently the disagreements among the Hamshen residents had reached a certain conclusion, or at least partially, and the followers of this event did not question the former Armenian identity of the Islamized Hamshen residents. This time they realized that the native spoken language called Hamshen was not a separate language, but one of the largely forgotten dialects of Armenian, which has managed to survive in the conditions of isolation until today without writing and literature. There were exchanges of opinion in order to ensure the survival of that language that reaches our days. It is known that the departure from the native cradle also threatens the use of the language, and under these conditions the preservation of the mother tongue becomes impossible. Of course, it's still too early for this consciousness to become universal, because political motivations have also created a Turkish nationalism among the Hamshen people, because it is not so easy to bear the existence of the title Armenian under the gradually increasing conditions of nationalism. The participants had the opportunity to express their feelings about various topics and to acquire new perceptions at this event. Sahakyan film's Daylight of Aurora won the general prize from the jury of the 14th Festival of Franco Film. The animated documentary film Daylight of Aurora, directed by Sahakyan, won the main prize from the jury of the 14th Franco Film Festival. This is reported by the National Film Center of Eastern Armenia. The event was organized by the French Institute of St. Louis with the support of Francophone embassies in Italy. Daylight of Aurora is an Armenian, German, Lithuanian joint production film. The director and screenwriter is Sahakyan, the producers are Vartan Hovanesyan, Christian Beats, Juste Mihailinate, and the film was created with the support of the Zorian Scientific Institute and based on the oral history archive of the genocide against Armenians. Aurora Mardiganyan was only 14 years old when she saw and experienced all the horror of the genocide against Armenians with her own eyes. Fortunately, manages to escape to America, where the story from the life tragedy became a true cultural sensation. A movie based on Aurora's life story, in which she plays the main character, took America by storm, making her the face of the largest charity campaign in U.S. story. The odyssey of her life tells how the heroine faces the cruel blows of fate, goes through pain and bitterness without losing the most important thing in life, the ability to remain human. This was all for today. Goodbye. Aşk